Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. It is another marvelous Monday. I am Mark Daniels and I'm so happy to see you join us this morning.
Good morning. I'm LaShanti Jupp and I'm happy to be guest hosting today as well.
Yes, and we are here dead early. It's another Monday. It's the start of the week, but the end of a month. It was a very busy weekend out there. Lots of people doing lots of different things. Wine and art. You had Halloween parties. You had, I think, there was other events going on. I don't know. I was in my house. What did you do this weekend, LaShanti?
Definitely did some more spin.
All right.
And I was able to get out to a stakeout, and I also spent some time trick-or-treating with some kids. So
That's good. That's good. I didn't make it out. I was nursed this weekend. There's a bug floating around a little bit, so I had to make sure I take care of my family. So for those who didn't see me out at those events, and I promise, I know you can whop me. I'm sorry. I'll see you next time. But did you dress up for Halloween?
no, I didn't.
Maybe
today.
I'm actually dressed up for Halloween right now.
Oh, who are you?
I'm a married man with 4 children. The most dangerous thing in America right now, right? But as you get started on this week, I hope you had a great weekend, that you feel recharged, re-energized, reinvigorated, and ready to go and take this week head on, right?
There you go.
That's how LaShanti has talked to people in spin. You don't mind her being
Get going.
Now. Yeah, get going. Ride, cycle, go.
Yeah, you gotta motivate people.
I love it, right? But we got another exciting show for you all again this morning. We're going to be talking to Dr. Pinto. He's back for another urology care segment, and we're going to get details on the government's new National Investment Fund bill. Definitely looking forward to hearing more about that.
We'll also talk to Paul and Tanya Hanna about some exciting stuff that they're doing, as well as Dr. Laura Dorcier will talk to us about urinary incontinence. But first, let's check out that weather.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, LaShanti, and good morning, Bahamas. And your first look at weather at Sunrise. High pressure continues to be the dominant of the feature across the islands, and that means you get some stable conditions, and also we'll have the wind start increasing by afternoon. In the weather today, we're looking at partly sunny and warm, and there's a chance of a few isolated showers. High temperature 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, partly cloudy and mild with a few nighttime showers. Your low temperature going down to 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And some region highs and lows across the Caribbean. Barbados 89 and 74. In Jamaica 86 and 75. In Trinidad 1974. And the Turks and Caicos Islands 87 and 74. Across North America, Atlanta 64 and 52. In Raleigh, 66 and 55. In Miami, 87 and 72. Dallas, Texas, 73 and 54. And Toronto, Canada, 57 and 47. As you go the week, high pressure continues to be the dominant of the feature. May have some little feature from potential tropical cyclone number 15, causing some of the breezy conditions. But for the most part, we look at a mix of sun and clouds, a little breezy. And yes, there's a chance some showers and possibly an isolated thunderstorm by afternoon, though temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s, at nighttime in the mid-70s. That puts you up in your first look at weather at Sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, LaShanti.
Thanks, Godfrey. Now, you might hear about a lot of blood and gore today because it's Halloween, but that's all fake. Today we have Dr. Greggory Pinto on to talk to us about the horrors of bloody semen. Welcome to the show. Welcome
it's
back.
Always my pleasure to be here. I also want to mention, as it's the onset of November, that it's actually Movember, which across the world annually we bring awareness to men's health, important issues of men's health, where we encourage men to not shave, grow a mustache. That's where the word Movember comes. So yes, I'm going to speak about one important issue. Throughout the month, I'm going to speak about many issues that men don't want to speak about. Many of them suffer in silence. And one of them, it is Halloween, is bloody urine, the horror of what we call hematospermia. So it's a horrifying ordeal for many men, their partners as well. Obviously, anytime they're going to see blood down there during the event itself or right afterwards, they're going to think the worst. They're going to think cancer. They're going to think prostate cancer. They or themselves are going to think that they may have a sexually transmitted disease. It's a relatively common phenomenon to get blood in your urine, and there are many reasons for it. In fact, many times when you have blood appearing semen, it doesn't necessarily mean it's blood. There are certain medications that can give you the appearance, such as vitamin B or pyridium, that can give you an orange-like appearance. You can have certain laxatives, such as senna, that can cause a reddish type of appearing urine, sperm. So it's not exactly, you don't need to self-diagnose. You need to overly worry. Obviously, you don't want to ignore it, although in many cases it's a benign, innocuous cause, but it can be something more sinister. So you're not going to jump to the conclusion that it's a sexually transmitted disease. It can be, but that's rarely the case. You're not going to jump to the conclusion that it's prostate cancer. Prostate cancer rarely presents with blood in the sperm. So it can be anything from a kidney stone or a stone in your ejaculatory duct. It can be related to inflammation of your prostate or your seminal vesicles. So anything along the path that creates the sperm and that allows for the release of sperm, you can have blood being produced that leads to blood in the sperm. So first thing to do is not to be horrified. Obviously you are at the moment. So just relax, take a breath, reassure your partner. The next day go see a urologist. We'll do a full investigations. In the vast majority of cases, it's nothing of any concern.
Right. Do you find that this is something that's very common here in the Bahamas?
I see it several times a week, and
so
it's always the case where for everyone I see, there are dozens of persons who will, because of embarrassment, will not come in. So yes, it's very common.
Yeah, I've actually heard that oftentimes men will not go to a doctor just out of, I don't know if it's like sheer ego or pride that, you know, whatever it is will resolve itself because they don't want to go to a professional. But do you find that that's the case with a lot of men here in the Bahamas?
Oh, very much so. They're afraid of the unknown. In many cases, it's the woman in their life that will force them to come in. They don't want to hear bad news, so they think ignorance is bliss. So if they're thinking of sexually transmitted disease, they don't want to address that with their partner. There's issues of infidelity and everything else. And in many cases, it's not the case. So don't jump to any conclusions. Don't be Google doctor and try to self-diagnose yourself. You may be on blood thinners. That may predispose you to having blood in your semen. Not to say that the cause of the blood in your semen is a blood thinners. That might just make it a condition such as urethritis, inflammation of your urethra, or prostatitis, inflammation of your prostate. Make the situation more acute where you're more likely or predisposed to bleed. So even if you are on blood thinners, don't chalk that up as the cause for your blood in your semen. Always see a urologist. It may be something very simple, such as a stone that we can easily address, or an infection or inflammation that we can address and treat you, and you can not have to go through that ordeal again.
So what are some common types of treatment that you would give to someone who has
So
this?
everything in medicine, you always want to treat the cause.
Right.
So you obviously want to do a thorough history, what medications you're on, what supplements you may be taking, what chronic illnesses you have, what was the predisposing event, was it a traumatic sexual episode, was this the first occurrence, was it actually blood, just because it has a blood tinge to it, or maybe an orange, or you may have jaundice. That may, with the breakdown of the blood products relating to jaundice, you may have an orange or a red appearance to your semen itself. So obviously you want to investigate, you want to obviously take a urine for culture, you want to do imaging, you may want to do a quick office scope, which is painless, to look in your urethra, look at your prostate, look in your bladder, make sure that there's nothing that's predisposing to any blood. But basically everything in modern urology is minimally invasive. So whatever we do is painless.
Oh, wow.
We'll come to a quick solution and make sure you don't have to go through that ordeal again.
So what would you say to men who may notice a change in the color of this urine or semen and they don't want to come? Like, how would you encourage them to come out and see a urologist?
That's an excellent question. So I did mention blood in your semen or your sperm, but very commonly you can have blood in your urine. And many men will be afraid, they'll deal with it for weeks, months, and even years on end.
Wow.
And they make the main mistake I always see all the time is they think it's an infection. So they'll borrow an antibiotic from their cousin or from a neighbor. It's rarely an infection that causes blood in your urine. So let's look at common causes, kidney stones. That's a very common cause. You can have an infection, yes, but that's very rare. But let's rule out more sinister causes and let's address it and make sure that whatever is happening, we address the root cause of the problem.
And so for men who may want want to now self-examine to be sure they need to come, what would be the healthy colors of urine semen and what would be colors that you need to be concerned about?
Any change, whatever it is, whether it's black, orange, a deeper color of yellow, if you're having a foul smell in terms of your ejaculate, obviously blood as well. Anything that's of any concern, as a urologist, as a physician, as any other physician, confidentiality is a cornerstone of my practice. So I've heard it all. I'm not going to judge anyone. There's nothing that's going to change the expression on my face. Confidentiality, compassion, we're going to get to the root of the matter and give you a solution. So don't be afraid to discuss any matter with your urologist.
That's so important. So how would people be able to contact you and get more information or even come and see you?
I'm a consultant at Princess Margaret Hospital. You always can get a referral from your local clinic in the Family Island or New Providence. I also have a private practice. I have a website, urologycarebahamas.com, and my main office is at Oak Tree Medical Center.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, it's great to have you back.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. I always don't know what to do around this time.
Okay.
Attention customers, next Tuesday, a major hurricane will cause complete confusion and chaos throughout the entire Bahamas. Water, phone, and internet services will be in short supply. Definite data loss is expected to all local and Family Island businesses.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Be ready with push-to-talk service that keeps you connected with your workforce with a simple push of a button. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Island.
We're good for you. Wouldn't it be satisfying to own your own piece of paradise? The most important investment you can make in your life is real estate, and Fidelity has the solution for you. You could become the owner of a home or a lot on any of our beautiful islands.
Come and talk to a loan officer and inquire about how you can fund your goals with a loan today.
Because we know it means a lot to own a lot. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or visit any of our branches, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 for Freeport.
Cancer won't wait. It won't wait for appointments to open up or test results to come back. That's why at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, our world-class experts give you the care you need when you need it, with appointments in as little as 24 hours and rapid test results to get you a personalized treatment plan. Because cancer isn't just what we do, it's all we do. Call today. Appointments available now.
The islands of the Bahamas. Fly away.
What do you want from a cloud solution? You want flexibility and edge? You want to modernize applications with the ability to deliver new ones with lightning speed. You want an infrastructure that's automated, secure, cost-effective, and scalable. You want to give the end user the freedom they want with the control you need. You can't get all that from just any cloud. You need something better. You need Bahamas Cloud. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Islands.
One thing two things: blue thing, old things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right, and in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Our menu, it's digital, so customers, once they come in, they have to scan the menu. Due to the space size, customers were unable to connect. It was unstable. Customers were very irate. They couldn't see what we offered, so sometimes we had customers that left, and now we don't have that issue. Customers are easily accessing the menu on the website. So now it's a smooth process, and ordering is much easier. Installing the Euromesh was easy as 1, 2, 3.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Full Call represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Full Call, fueling growth for people.
Attention customers, next Tuesday, a major hurricane will cause complete confusion and chaos throughout the entire Bahamas. Water, phone, and internet services will be in short supply. Definite data loss is expected to all local and family island businesses.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Be ready with push-to-talk service that keeps you connected with your workforce with a simple push of a button. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Island.
Wouldn't it be satisfying to own your own piece of paradise? The most important investment you can make in your life is real estate, and Fidelity has the solution for you. You could become the owner of a home or a lot on any of our beautiful islands.
Come and talk to a loan officer and inquire about how you can fund your goals with a loan today.
Because we know it means a lot to own a lot. Visit us online at fidelitygroup.com. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, or visit any of our branches, or phone 356-7764 in Nassau, or 352-6676 for Freeport, or 352-6676 for Freeport.
Welcome back. According to the government, the National Investment Fund Bill paves the way for a new framework of governance of the nation's assets and investments. Here to talk with us about this is accountant Lynden Nairn. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Money, money, money. We talking this. It's Money Mondays, right? And I love the topic here. I've been reading up a little on it this weekend. So tell us, what exactly is the National Investment Fund Bill and what is its purpose?
Well, it's a very good question. I think it's important to get it right from the very beginning. The National Investment Fund Bill is the most significant piece of economic piece of legislation the Bahamas has ever had in its history. It is more significant, in my opinion, than the Hotel Encouragement Act. It's more significant, potentially, than NIB Act. It is huge. It has the potential to literally change the economic landscape of the Bahamas, right? And what it is an attempt by the government to recognize and to utilize the assets that are owned by the government. If you think about it, right? The government of the Bahamas owns more assets than any entity, in fact, all of the entities in this country, private entities in the country combined. And the reality is that the government of the Bahamas, which is true of most governments around the world, has not been using those assets for the benefit of its citizenry. You think about it further, that sounds crazy. If any business were to do that, right? If any business were to say, you know, I'm going to ignore all of my assets and only have regard for my liabilities, my revenues, and my expenditure, that entity is going to go out of business very quickly.
Right?
So what the government is saying now is that we are going to deploy, we're going to create an infrastructure, if you will, for the utilization of those assets for the benefit of the Bahamian people.
So will this allow for transparent management of the Bahamas' natural resources and the government's privately held instruments? Keyword, transparent.
Absolutely. Well, theoretically it does. The bill itself is very, very clear with respect to the importance of transparency and accountability. As a matter of fact, the bill refers to the Santiago Protocol, which is 24 protocols established by the major sovereign wealth funds around the world that they have adopted. And the reality is that sovereign wealth funds work best when they are transparent, when there is accountability, when their missions are known, when it is clear with respect to the investments that are being made and withdrawals that are coming out, when directors are independent, when management is independent as well, when operation is independent. And all of these things are going to have to be significant parts of what these funds eventually are. As it relates specifically to natural resources, what it will mean is that finally we're going to be able to see precisely what is happening. Because this bill, when it becomes law, will require that there be disclosure, on the government's website with respect to mission. There will be financial disclosures, there will be necessary audits that have to be laid in Parliament, and I think all of these things are very, very important.
I agree. It sounds like the Bahamas is a business and we are all shareholders, so we can demand to see the books. Right?
Absolutely.
Let me see the numbers. So this is going to be replacing the Sovereign Wealth Fund Act. Why is that necessary?
Absolutely necessary. Frankly, and I think we can be candid on your show, even though it's early in the morning.
Dead early.
Dead early in the morning. The reality is that the existing Sovereign Wealth Fund was rushed through Parliament by the previous PLP administration. It was done for political reasons, and frankly, it is meaningless. That's the bottom line.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that frank talk. I like this. I can get used to this. So the Prime Minister says that this will help create a growth fund for the Family Islands, a food security fund, and a renewable energy fund. Please explain this to us.
Well, I think what the Prime Minister further explained, and I thought that this was quite interesting, he further explained that immediately upon the passage of this bill, the government will start what the government will call a Bahamas Resilient Infrastructure Fund. And he was clear to point out that it will entail more than just physical infrastructure, roads and what have you. What is intended is firstly for there to be the creation of sub-funds. And he mentioned a minimum of three. And he mentioned these three in particular. Firstly, he talked about a growth fund. And there he said that what is being considered is that throughout the Family Islands, there will be these funds designed to ensure that the infrastructure is created for business, right? For example, airports will be constructed or upgraded, marinas, other kinds of infrastructure. Then he also talked about renewable energy, right? And I think that that's huge, because that's going to have a significant impact on our balance of payments kind of thing. That is going to create opportunities. In fact, all of these funds that the Prime Minister talked about will create entrepreneurial opportunities, and I think that that is very significant. This is not, I think what the Bahamian people need to appreciate is that this is not about what the government is going to be doing by itself, right? But more significant than that is what Bahamians will be enabled to do because of this legislation, and that excites me, frankly, most.
And I agree, that is exciting, especially when we talk about, our family islands, their importance in terms of being more resilient, being able to have a thriving economy on those islands, to be able to rebound from disasters,
Absolutely.
to be a little more insular and not so reliant on New Providence or some of the other islands. And so I would like to think that persons who are hearing this, the entrepreneurs on these islands, are excited, like you said, and ready to partner with the government on these initiatives. So tell us, how might the investment fund enable public development related to the blue, green, and orange economy?
Well, I think again, that's huge. And again, I think it's important to emphasize this point, right? That, as a matter of fact, what I believe that the government ought to do, starting now, is the government ought to engage in public education, right? Let the Bahamian people understand and begin to appreciate what it's doing, because this is big. This is big time, and what you can imagine is that there could be literally hundreds of funds created throughout the length and breadth of the Bahamas, right? You can imagine funds being created in Inagua to deal, sub-funds being created in Inagua for the infrastructural development there. You can see funds being created relating to the blue economy, right? In Andros kind of thing, having to do with aquaculture, having to do with exploiting deep water fishing. You can see, the creative economy being impacted in significant ways as well. And you can also see, as we talked about already, what the government has projected with respect to renewable energy. Now, specifically, what the government anticipates, based on my understanding of the bill, is that some of the earnings from natural resources will be directed towards the blue, green, and the orange economies. So I think that is very, very significant.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. I would also say that one of the things that the government might consider, right, is taking this to a number of places, right, very specifically. One, the professional bodies in the country, biker, the professional engineers, and others, lawyers, talk to them about this bill and how the country as a whole can benefit, right? Because this is huge. Secondly, I take it to the University of the Bahamas, right? We've got 4,500 students there. They need to understand what is happening, because if this is done right, this is going to transform the Bahamas in ways that few people, quite frankly, can even imagine. And this is how significant this potentially could be, right? And it's important for us to understand it. It's important for us to get it right. And I would say, frankly, that if the government is not minded to do it in a transparent and an accountable way, they ought to leave it alone until some administration is prepared to do it right. Because if we damage this, if we sully the waters as it pertains to this, that will be a damage that generations to come will have to contend with. And we will have lost an important opportunity. So let's not mess this up. We got to start it right. We got to remove politics out of this. This is not political. The current administration will get the benefit that it deserves for this bill, period. Okay? The Prime Minister of the Bahamas, having been the Prime Minister who introduced this, he will reap the benefits from this. And that's as far as that ought to go. But as far as appointing directors, managers, etc., that should be, those kinds of things ought to be done not based on any political affiliation whatsoever, but on competency, and that should be it. It should be merit-based, and that's all.
I love it. It's a very exciting bill you're talking about. The potential seems endless, and at the end of the day, the benefit will reach the Bahamian people and benefit our economy, our environment, and our futures, which I think is the most important thing. So I'd like to thank you again, Mr. Lynden Nairn, for breaking it down for us. The National Investment Fund bill sounds like exciting stuff. Thank you for your time this morning on Bahamas at Sunrise.
You're quite welcome.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
The islands of the Bahamas. Fly away.
Our menu, it's digital, so customers, once they come in, they have to scan the menu. Due to the space size, customers were unable to connect. It was unstable. Customers were very irate. They couldn't see what we offered, so sometimes we had customers that left, and now we don't have that issue. Customers are easily accessing the menu on the website. So now it's a smooth process, and ordering is much easier. Installing the Euromesh was easy as 1, 2, 3.
And welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We are at the mid-show. Thank you for joining us dead early on this marvelous Monday. My name is Mark Daniels.
And my name's Lashanti Jubb.
Exciting first half of the show. I love hearing about the new National Investment Fund bill. Sounds like there's a lot of potential for Bahamians and the family islands and our diversified economy to benefit. And so, as Mr. Nairn said, that accountability, transparency, and no politicalness is needed to make this successful. So we look forward to that bill being a success, as we said, for us and our future generations. What did you talk about this morning?
Yeah, so I got to learn about, some of the horrors behind bloody semen and bloody urine, actually, and why it's so important to talk to your doctor. If you see anything that's different, changes in smell or color, you should definitely go and get it checked out. Because a lot of times it may be nothing, but you always want to make sure it's not something.
I know they say that men don't like to go to the doctor, but you see me see blood coming from there, I can be at the doctor in 0.5 seconds. I ain't hanging up on that. I need to find out what's going on and figure out how to fix that. Ain't no playing with that one. I ain't that. But it's always great having Dr. Pinto on the show. He always charges us men to take care of our health, take our health in our own hands. It ain't an ego thing, it ain't a pride thing. And to all the wives and the women out there that push us, thank you so much, because without y'all, man, I think us men, we wouldn't make it.
No.
Well, we wouldn't be here, first of all.
Probably not.
We definitely wouldn't make it. And we got an exciting second half coming up. We got Paul and Tanya Hanna, our jazz professionals, our legends, are back to talk about several projects they have going on, and I'm excited to see them again.
And we have Dr. Laura DesRosiers to talk to us about urinary incontinence. But first, let's take a second look at that weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Shante. Good morning, Bahamas. Yes, second look at weather, sunrise, the tropics, and this morning, morning one system, potential tropical cyclone number 15, and at 5 a.m. this morning, potential tropical cyclone number 15 was located in latitude 15.8 degrees north, longitude 76.1 degrees west, some 160 miles south-southeast of Kingston, Jamaica, moving towards the west at 12 miles per hour, those winds are now 40 miles per hour. This system will become or should become a tropical cyclone, a tropical storm by late this afternoon, if so be Lisa. On the local scene, high pressure across the islands continues to be the dominant of the future, and will be stable with some breezy conditions over the next several days. In the marine forecast today, those winds blowing north to east are 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet northwest and central Bahamas, easterly at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. By tomorrow, those winds northeast to east at 15 to 20 knots, sea 4 to 6 feet over the islands. Then on Wednesday, those winds northeast to east at 15 knots, sea 3 to 5 feet over northwest Bahamas, easterly at 15 to 20 knots, seas 4 to 6 feet over the central and southeastern islands. Your tides. You can expect a low tide at 6:50 this morning. Next high tide will be at 1:21 this afternoon. Low again this evening at 7:59. Sunset will be at 6:29 this evening. Rises more at 7:16. UV index 8. Your water temperature 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And the moon phase now moving towards the first quarter. Extended look. High pressure continues to be the dominant feature. But that means some breezy conditions. So for the rest of the weekend, the rest of the week, a mix of sun and clouds, still warm and breezy. And yes, you'll have a few showers, possible an isolated thunderstorm. The temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s, at nighttime in the mid 70s. That puts you up on your phone. Look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Back to you, Lashante.
Thanks, Godfrey. We are always excited to have these guests on our show. They have several exciting new things going on. They are the renowned musicians Paul and Tanya Hanna. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to be here.
It's great to have you. So what have you guys been up to lately?
Well, right now we are working on the Jazz Fest in the Garden. This is at Premier Crew Bristol Cellars, and we'll be there November 11th. That's next week, Friday. And we start at 6 p.m. and go until about 9. We have several vendors with us. We have a collection of fashions from Kevin Strachan, Fifth Avenue collection. And Kira is exciting with her wild crafted spices, and her cuisines are really nice and tasty. So if you've never had any of her dishes, you're gonna be wonderfully surprised. Then Sandra Strapp, she has beautiful Bahamian jewelry. And Erica Hanna is stepping out with her shoes. So ladies, you can try on your shoes, you can be fitted and be surprised. She has her Christmas collection coming up. So she'll be displaying that so people can see what they want for Christmas, any shopping. And then, of course, the beautiful music.
Yes, that is the highlight, and it sounds like such an exciting event all around. So I've heard you've got a new band. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, man, this is so cool at this stage in my life to be putting a band together with two of my friends, Earl Forbes on bass, Kevin Dean on drums, and of course my wife and I. And so we're quite excited about that. We've been having some really good rehearsals, and looking forward to the 11th when we will debut and really make some wonderful music. We're expecting our friends to be there to make this happen. We can't do it without you. So please, come along and bring some friends with you when you come.
That sounds so exciting, definitely. And so I've heard about something called a musical mix and match. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, the musical mix and match. That's our exciting game. This was developed through the years of being a teacher in the classroom. Let me show you. So what it is you have a deck of cards, and you can do several wonderful things with these cards, just like you would play a card game, but now you're playing a musical game, and then there are questions and answers, and children are having fun while they're learning. And of course, they're not even aware that they're learning, because then after the game, they have so much knowledge all about the music theory. And so now they're more attentive. It really builds focus, builds memory, even builds motor skills, because I'm finding that a lot of the young students, because we're using the handheld devices and not in the gardens playing or outside, shooting marbles or, using your fingers more.
Yeah.
What's happening is I'm finding that their hands are a little just like weak. If you check the kids today, their hands are not as strong as when we were growing up. And I'm just saying that maybe because they don't go outside and play as much, and they're doing a lot of the handheld. And so the game is really going to help build motor skills, because you have to actually turn over those cards, and that action with the fingers, using the fingers like that, it helps to build strength. So it's a lot of benefits to the game, not just intellectually, but also you're going to find that physically that helps.
That sounds.
And we have even computation skills, because the math is involved. So yeah.
That sounds so exciting. And so with the Jazz Fest, who's performing? Is it all just jazz?
Pretty much. Just the band. Who else? Oh, we have a guest, but this is something.
A surprise
guest.
Exciting.
And he's a young and upcoming, really wonderful pianist. People are gonna really get their socks knocked off when they hear him. It's just he's so outstanding.
I'm excited. I almost feel like I might know who you're talking about. But can you let us know, where can people get tickets? Where is the event happening on November 11th?
Okay, so you can get tickets online at Rock the City. Just go to www, and it's, hold on just a second. It's www, and it's tickets.rockthecity.net. Okay, so tickets.rockthecity.net.
And how much are the tickets going for?
It's a $25.
Not
Hey.
bad.
And that includes a welcome drink, a welcome beverage.
Can't beat that.
That does sound so exciting. And you said it'll be November 11th at Premier Crew?
Yeah, Premier Crew, and that's Bristol Cellars, which is at the top of the hill, Gladstone Road. Beautiful gardens, beautiful scenery, has a French look of a chateau. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is quite a lovely location, and probably the perfect venue for a jazz festival. I'm a big fan of jazz, so I'm super excited to actually, I'll probably be out there too.
Oh, please do. Please do. We're looking forward to seeing you now, okay?
For sure. So I've heard you guys might have a special performance for us today?
Oh, yes, we do.
Well, I got a song that I find very motivating. I like to share with my fans and audience. And it's called The Older I Get. It goes like this. The older I get, the more I think. You only get a minute, gotta live while you're in it, 'cause it's gone in a blink.
That's right.
The older I get, the truer it is. It's the people you love, not the money and stuff, that makes you rich. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet.
My best years yet.
The older I get,
The older I get,
the fewer friends I have. But you don't need a lot when the ones that you got have always got your back.
Got your back.
The older I get,
The older I get,
the better I am.
the better I am.
knowing when to give and when to not give a damn.
Not give a damn.
If they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get,
the older I get.
So you see, I think you got the message, right? It keeps me going, man. Like, lets me know that, hey, Paul, you're not too old to do your thing. You know what I mean? If you got something to offer, do it.
Just do it. Just do it. Yes.
Growing old is such a blessing, and I love the words that, if you found the fountain of youth, you would not take a drop. I think so many people think that being young is such an advantage, when really no. Growing old is quite the blessing, and that was such a beautiful song. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I do want to mention that with the game, we have a community game coming up on the 16th of November. Nice. That's at the Port Charlotte Community Center, 3:30 to 4:30. So we have a group of children who are going to experience the game. And then on Friday at the Gambier School, they're going to experience the game too. So we have groups that are practicing the game, learning the game, and enjoying the game.
That's so exciting, and it's so great to hear all the community work you're doing. Thank you so much for joining us again on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you, and see you at the Jazz Fest.
Definitely, and we'll be right back.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Full Call represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Full Call, fueling growth for people.
What do you want from a cloud solution? You want flexibility and edge? You want to modernize applications with the ability to deliver new ones with lightning speed. You want an infrastructure that's automated, secure, cost-effective, and scalable. You want to give the end user the freedom they want with the control you need. You can't get all that from just any cloud. You need something better. You need Bahamas Cloud. Contact the experts today at 601-8911 in Nassau or 602-8811 in the Family Islands.
Welcome back. Urinary incontinence is a medical problem, but it can also take an emotional and a psychological toll on those who suffer from it. Here to talk with us about this is Dr. Laura DesRosiers, urogynecologist with Doctors Hospital Health System. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning, Mark. It's nice to be here.
Yes, thank you for being up with us dead early on this marvelous Monday.
Raining.
Yeah, right? So tell us, Doc, what is urinary incontinence?
So it's really any involuntary loss of urine. And there are lots of reasons why that can happen. It can happen because there's a change in the intra-abdominal pressure where you cough and you leak, you laugh, you leak, you sneeze, you leak. It can happen because there is increase or overactivity of the bladder, where the receptors of the bladder are essentially upregulated, and so you have these involuntary muscle contractions of the muscle of the bladder, and when that contraction builds enough pressure in the bladder, it can lead to leakage. It can also happen as a result of neurogenic bladder. So there are lots of nerves that go between, our lower pelvis towards our brain, and they're sending signals consistently. And those signals, if there's, for example, a car accident, if there's injury to the spinal cord, etc., that can lead to disruptions in those signal pathways. And as a result, you can have loss of control of urinary function, and that can lead to leakage as well. We tend to call that neurogenic bladder.
So there's neurogenic bladder. What are some of the other types?
All right, so stress incontinence, which is the leakage, which it's not because you're stressed out. You may also be stressed out, but from the stress incontinence. Right. But the leakage with activity, you know, typically we're seeing this, you know, in 40, 50-year-olds who, and sometimes even, you know, sooner, especially in that initial postpartum period where, you know, you're running after children and you're like, you know, if I better not get on a trampoline because if I do, then it's, you know, it's game over. For women who are needing to wear black clothes because when they go to exercise, they already know. People who start to map around where the restrooms are because they know that they need to make sure they're empty with any activity. So we call that stress incontinence. And that tends to be, we tend to see it a little earlier on in life. Like I said, very, very common postpartum. There is an old adage that this is just, you know, basic, this is common, this is what happens. And I like to say, yes, diabetes happens, hypertension happens, high cholesterol happens, but we don't tell people, okay, just deal with it, right? Whereas we tend to have that sort of adage that we're telling women with incontinence. And incontinence can have, you know, not only an emotional toll, but certainly can have some medical issues that can come with it when it's not looked into. So stress incontinence can certainly be bothersome. And then urge incontinence, which we tend to see a little older. We're seeing in 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. And that causes urinary urgency that's sort of a sudden, you know, urge to go to the restroom that can't be deferred. You know, I'll have women who say, don't tell me, I know where every bathroom is in this hospital. Or I know where, you know, where I work in the mall and I know where all the bathrooms are on the first floor. Well, that's a telltale sign that there's something going on. Needing to bathroom map, or women, they'll say, you know, I go to the bathroom before I leave the house, when I get to where I'm going, before I leave where I'm going, just in case. Well, typically it's because we're trying to avoid, you know, accidents. And so there are certain things, and you know, I'd like to say that although, you know, sometimes we do have to use sanitary napkins as, you know, a way to sort of protect ourselves, there are actually meaningful ways that we can improve our quality of life.
So tell us about some of the treatment options available for some of the women who suffer from urinary incontinence.
Well, first and foremost, I think diagnosing what's going on appropriately is the first thing, right? So there's a tendency to, you know, to forget that there could be, there are many reasons why we can be having incontinence. It can be because we're having urinary tract infections, and those need to be treated if that's what's going on. It may be because we're not completely emptying our bladder, and we need to evaluate why that is. Is there because there's underlying neurologic issue that's going on, multiple sclerosis, for example, Parkinson's for our older patients, etc. Or is it because that there is, you know, actual, you know, urge incontinence, stress incontinence, etc. So having the correct diagnosis is really important, and I can't emphasize it enough because that is going to change the way that we manage things. So once we have the correct diagnosis, and let's say that this is just your good old-fashioned, you know, stress incontinence, then I'm highly going to recommend that we start doing behavioral modifications. You know, there's a tendency for women not to drink enough water because they don't want to have accidents, and they think that drinking more water actually makes them go to the restroom. And I always say, your kidneys are way more important to me. So I want you drinking enough water, and we'll fix the incontinence. Now, then we'll start to include things like, you know, pelvic floor therapy. I'm a big, you know, supporter of pelvic floor therapy, and it's where we use physical therapists that have additional training to work with women to teach them how to do their pelvic floor exercises. You'll notice that I avoid saying Kegels because every woman has heard, you know, their doctor say to them, go do Kegels. And we literally say, go do Kegels. And then they're like, oh, okay.
Like, you know, like they're jumping jacks, like everyone knows what to do, right?
But I find that, you know, over 50% of the ladies that come in to do Kegels do them incorrectly. When we're examining women, we'll check to make sure it's being done appropriately. And the majority of them are pushing, or they're using other accessory muscles in order to engage their pelvic floor, and that actually is not the right way to do it. So working with a pelvic floor therapist that's trained, that's going to do that part, do the hard work with you is really important. That's number one. And then, depending on what type of incontinence, if it's stress incontinence versus urge incontinence versus mixed, and so pelvic floor therapy being the obvious number one. Other smaller things that we can do. So I like to use pessaries or even tampons sometimes. There's a tampon that's specifically made for this that can be it's made by the makers of Poise that can be used. There are some online things that can be used as well, which I like to guide patients through because I want you to use things that we know and we're familiar with. So those are non-surgical options. There are lots of minimally invasive ways of managing stress incontinence. For example, we can do periurethral bulking, which is we use a little bit of material around the urethra. And I don't know if the pictures are up, but periurethral bulking can be very successful. It's an outpatient procedure. You go home the same day. The only thing we say is, avoid heavy lifting for, a few days after the procedure, just to allow things to settle in, okay? And then there is the mid-urethral sling, which is a little hammock that gets placed underneath the urethra, also an outpatient procedure. Patients can typically expect, no heavy lifting for 6 weeks. It is a mesh material. It is a foreign body that we're placing. So we do have some restrictions in terms of post-operative ability. But in terms of going back to work, most patients should be able to go back to work within a week or so after. The heavy lifting tends to be the most important restriction.
It seems like there's a lot of options available, and it's not necessarily a doom and gloom diagnosis, and that women should reach out for assistance. Tell us how Doctors Hospital is tackling this issue of urinary incontinence.
So we have a Urogyne program that we're starting. We're starting this week with a whole Expo week where we're really pushing and getting information out there. And urogynecology involves, several aspects, right? Not only incontinence, but pelvic floor, an array of pelvic floor dysfunctions, which include incontinence, prolapse, chronic pain. We also want to talk about ways to help women minimally invasively. We do a lot of minimally invasive surgeries, what we call keyhole laparoscopy, small incisions with better recovery, less blood loss, good return to work, et cetera. So we are really pushing the options for women. And more importantly, we just want women to be educated because we know that not only having the correct diagnosis is really important, but we also believe that women who come earlier have more options. For example, if you were to have diabetes and you wait until you come in with neuropathy and a hemoglobin A1C of 13, which means that your diabetes now is affecting every organ in your body, it's harder to treat. Whereas if you come in early and you can, manage your diabetes, your high blood glucose rather, then it's going to be much easier for you to have a better, longer success story in that process. Right. So that's what we're looking for our program and our patients. We want to see you early.
Well, we know Doctors Hospital always has a solution. We always have a number of the physicians on the show. And we'd like to thank you, Dr. DesRosiers, for coming on and talking to us about urinary incontinence. Tell us, how can people contact you?
Absolutely. So I'm at Doctors Hospital. You can feel free to call Doctors Hospital, the main line, so 302-4600. And then the extension there is 5557. Or at Centerville Medical Center. I'm there Fridays and Saturdays. I'm happy to see patients. And that number is also 302-3250, and we're happy to see patients there as well.
Well, Dr. DesRosiers, thank you for joining us this morning, opening our eyes to the issues surrounding urinary incontinence, but providing us with encouragement that there are solution options out there and that it isn't an end-all, and that they should come and see you, come to Doctors Hospital. So thank you for joining us, Mamas at Sunrise.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
You're watching Mamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back. And that's going to do it for us here today on Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you for joining us dead early for another episode on this marvelous Monday. Go forth and have a productive week. It's Halloween for some. Some people don't celebrate Halloween. I don't know what you're going to do today, LaShanti.
Work.
Yeah, work. Get on that bike and start spinning.
There you go.
You know, it's been a pleasure having you with us again. Look forward to having you on the show one more time.
Thank you.
Tell our people goodbye.
Thank you, Bahamas, and have a great week.